plus size, plus sized it girl. Go ahead, Mel. Thank you for waiting patiently.
Of course, I don't mind waiting. This conversation is really disturbing to me because not only is there lots of victim blaming, but I just feel like I only hear these conversations in the Black community about men not protecting women, and this is just a larger conversation overall that we need to focus on. To be honest, like I'm in Black and white spaces. I'm actually a Hebrew teacher, so I spend a lot of time around Jewish people. And I've never felt the level of concern and respect from men that I have in white spaces that I have in Black spaces. White men, it doesn't matter if it's their mother, sister, a stranger, they are going to look out for another woman. And it just shows that they have concern. I feel like a lot of Black men have forgotten how to be men. And this, again, this is a conversation I only hear in the Black community. There's no overall protection for Black men, for Black women. We're expected to fend for ourselves, do everything ourselves. And it's disgusting. I've never experienced this with any other race of men. Everyone is out there to protect their community except for Black people. And it's just disturbing. I don't know how we came here. I know that Girl Dad, you talked about people being really emotional and everything. Of course, that's true, but it never should have gotten to that situation. There was tons of other people and men in that store that could have prevented this. As soon as that man even talked about hitting this woman, there should have been like, oh, no, no, brother, like, we're not going to do that. Like, there should have been people like holding him back. And this is why a lot of Black women are like diverging from Black men, and why there's this huge conversation about, dating outside of our race, because it's just expected that Black women are not going to be protected. And I don't know if that comes from lack of education, lack of fathers in the home, lack of actually what it takes to like be a man. But like all the men that have come on here, like y'all must not know like what it really means to be a man. I was raised by my father. I've had strong men in my life, and they never ever would have let something like this go down. In the Black community, it's no longer really a community. When you have a community, that means that everyone is looking out for every other person and that we are actively trying to protect people. And I just don't see that happening in the Black community. Every person that's saying negative comments right now is a man, okay? So that should just show you what's going on. There's a huge disconnect between Black women and Black men, and it needs to be figured out. I live in Houston, and there's a whole gang of sassy men here, but you see violence against Black women every single day, and I don't see the same thing happening in other communities. So that's the main thing. Yeah, I see people agreeing with me, but it's really disgusting. Men need to learn how to be men. And if you're not going to stand up for a woman, then you're really not a man. It's really selfish for men to think that they don't have to protect women in their own community, because if you're not going to do it, then who's going to do it? That's basically saying that we are by ourselves. And
Oh,
yes,
sister.
Flaco David, it's very selfish. As you can see,
Wait,
all of the
can I
women,
just can I just say something
no,
real quick,
I'm
Barbie?
sorry. I waited a long time to
Hold
talk,
on,
so I would
y'all.
really appreciate if you
Oh,
would
but
give
you're
me the
like kind of
floor.
I am giving you the floor, but you're kind of like monologuing a little bit.
Hold on, we die. She got the floor. Let her finish.
I'm monologuing? What do you mean? I thought this was a
Go
conversation.
go ahead, plus
And
size. Go ahead, plus size girl. Go
Okay.
ahead.
yeah, so no, obviously the situation wasn't right, but that situation should have been de-escalated by the other people, by the men in the room before that even happened. Whenever I'm in white spaces, I mean, I'm not someone that like pops off. I'm very much like to myself. But if I ever was in that sort of situation, like I've only been in one situation like that, there was men around to correct that behavior. Whenever you have lack of accountability for our community, this is the exact thing that happens. And everyone's talking about, well, what if I was killed? What if this? What if that? Like, clearly the man wasn't armed. Like, everyone is making all of these, like, generalizations about what could and couldn't have happened. I'm looking at what did happen. There was people standing around that didn't do anything, that put that woman in a uncomfortable and dangerous situation. I'm not saying the man should have been shot. I'm not saying that that should have happened. But we need to take a look at how this is a bigger problem that's indicative of the Black community. I live in Houston, the most diverse city in the entire country, in the entire world. And this is a problem that I see only within the Black community. I have people and friends of every race, every creed. The men would never in a million years allow their women to be treated like this. And it's really sad. And like I said, that's why you see a lot of Black women divesting from the community. And I don't know what it is on TikTok. I see so many interracial couples right now, like Black women and white men. And I'm like, you know what, sister, go ahead, because there's really like not a lot over here for us. And I think this is just leading into a larger conversation, like I said, about Black men not really being men anymore. Because I feel like when you are a man, you stand up for your community, you stand up for your women. Like, and this is like just hang with me here, but in Japan, right, they know that kids can go off by themselves, and like kids as young as 3 years old, riding the train, going to the grocery store, doing all of these things by themselves, because as a community, the Japanese have decided that they need to protect their children, they need to protect their people, and they're very like not docile, quote unquote, but there's not a lot of like danger and safety issues in that community. Within the Black community, it's pretty much been known that it's okay to disrespect women. It's okay to do this. And I'm not a person that's like, oh, it comes from rap music or comes from this or this and this. But as I get older, when you look at our media and what is portrayed, like women are constantly disrespected. So I feel like it's the responsibility of the collective. Like it's a lot of people's fault that that happened because it didn't have to do that. And I know, girl dad, I was briefly listening to what you're saying because I'm doing work over here. But you were like, oh, what if someone had offered to bring her food to the car or do this or do that? No one attempted to escalate that situation. When a bunch of men were standing around literally seeing a Black woman be threatened, no one wanted to do anything. So then, her son had to take it into his own hands. And
So
yeah,
sister,
whoever was going to respond to me,
yeah,
please